All right, accelerated one. We are doing equivalent ratios. So we got ratio tables, equivalent ratio word problems, understanding equivalent ratios in the real world. It's going to be great. But before we start, I have to show you what I just showed, 6th grade math, and that is cross multiplication. So this will serve us well over the course of ratios, and anytime we have a fraction equal to a fraction, we can use this strategy. Okay, lots of things in the world are proportional, and that means a fraction equal to a fraction. And if you don't know one of the numerators or the denominators, then you can use this. So let's do 2/5 is equal to 2/5 is equal to 8 over x. So 2/5 is equal to 8 what's? We don't know, right? Well, maybe you could say, oh, I can multiply by 4 and then multiply by 4. And so what is it? Is it going to be 20? Okay, but now let me show you how to get it using cross multiplication. Because sometimes you can't do the answer in your head. So you take this numerator and multiply it by the denominator, the opposite denominator. So 2 times x, we write it like this, 2x. Pretty straightforward, right? And then this numerator gets multiplied by this denominator, 8 times 5. I'm just going to do my multiplication, and I get 2x equals 40. The last step is to divide both sides by whatever the coefficient of x is, and that coefficient of x is the number being multiplied by x, and it's 2 in this case. And that 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 40 divided by 2 is 20, just like we thought. So even when it's a decimal or some crazy number, you can do that cross multiplication, boop, boop, divide, and be done. All right, so we may find that be a useful thing in these problems. So here we have Luigi using 39 mozzarella pearls, small cheese balls, for every 6 pizzas they make. So we see 39 to 6. So I'm just gonna take my given information there, 39 to 6, and I'm gonna write it as a fraction, 39 over 6. We got pearls, we got pizza. Now in the second row, we know 4 pizzas, so I'm gonna put that as the denominator, but we don't know the number of pearls, mozzarella pearls that are needed, so we're gonna call it x. All right, so it'll work out as long as our unit in the numerators is the same and our unit pizzas in the denominators is the same. Now we're going to use that strategy. 39 times the 4 is equal to 6 times x. And it's time the variable ends up on the other side, but that's okay. So what is 39 times 4? It's 156. 156 equals 6x. So now what do? I divide both sides by 6. So 156 divided by 6. 26. 26. All right. So now I'm just going to set up proportion for the second one. But I can still use 39 over 6. And this time, I know the pearls. So that's 13 that goes on top. And this time I don't know the pizzas. So I'm multiplying 39 times x. And I'm multiplying 6 and 13 together. What is 6 times 13? No, I can do that. That's going to be 72 plus 6, it's 78. So So I'm thinking that's probably 2, right? It's got to be 2. 78 divided by 39. Ta-da! So you see that cross multiplication is a nice little strategy that you can use in your ratio tables. Now, you could use it for equivalent ratios too, but just to give you another strategy, we can look for multiples. So 5 to 2, is that the same as 2 to 5? Is backwards, but let's look for, how about that one? 10 to 4, is that 5 to 2? Absolutely, because we can multiply both of these by 2 and we would get 10 to 4. Okay. Then how about 35 to 14? So starting with 5 to 2, if I multiply 5 by 7, I get 35. So then I would have to multiply 2 by 7, and I would get 14. So that one works. And then definitely this one is just 5 to 2, both multiplied by 11, right? So did not need my backwards ratio. Ta-da! Equivalent ratios. And then if you get one like this, you can just reduce it first. So what is 3 over 12 or 3/12? I mean, 3 to 12, what does that reduce to? Well, you can divide both of them by 3, and then it would be 1 to 4. So they give you an unsimplified ratio, go ahead and reduce it, and then look for the multiples. Or you could cross multiply if you're not sure what they are. And okay, so now let's do the ratio word problems. Don't worry, I know we don't like word problems, but it's not going to be too bad. Lucia is making invincibility potions. Each potion requires the following ingredients: 2 eyes of a newt, 5 carrots, and 3 liters of rainwater. How many carrots would Lucia mix with 16 eyes of newt in the potions? So how many carrots? We don't know, so we call it X. X carrots over 16 eyes of newt. And so, well, we know that there's 5 carrots, right? For how many eyes of newt? For every 2 eyes of newt, right? So the 16 eyes of newt and the 2 eyes of newt. So we see that our denominators match, our numerators are both about carrots. And what are we going to do? Cross multiply. So x times 2 is 2x. 16 times 5. What is that? That's going to be 50, and then the 30, and then that's going to be 80. And then we divide by the coefficient of x. I hope that you walk into class saying divide by the coefficient of x using good vocabulary. So you see the answer should be 40. Whew, that it was. All right, so you use that cross multiplication after you set up ratios. Make sure the numerators, the units match, and the denominators units match. And it shouldn't be too bad. Last one, understand equivalent ratios in the real world. What could be more important? Nay Eli lights a 4-meter squared space with 12 candles. Sitali lights a 10-meter squared space with 30 of the same types of candles. Whose space is lit brighter? Great question, right? Well, let's think about the ratios. So the first one is 4 to 12. The second one is 10 to 30. What do you think we should do? I think we should reduce our ratios. So 4/12, we can divide both of those by 4, and we would get 1/3. And guess what? We can divide 10/30ths by 10 and get 1/3. So both ratios simplify to 1/3. 1 meter squared space per 3 candles, or 3 candles per 1 square meter. So they are equally right. Okay, so all you got to do is set up your ratios, simplify your ratios, and whoever's, in this one, the stronger mustard flavor would be the bigger fraction. That's how that goes. I think you're going to do great. Whatever you do get, post in the organizer. If you get 100%, put a green question in the organizer. If you don't get 100%, there's no problem there, as long as you put a yellow, or even better, a red question in the organizer, and come to class with your questions, make your corrections, and then try again. All right, you got this.